Well, according to David Ornstein, Arsenal, along with many other clubs, have met with the representatives of Dean Huijsen. I hope I'm pronounced that correct. That's just Spain international, but I believe born in the Netherlands. The Bournemouth centre-back has a release clause of £50 million, and Arsenal, along with, I think, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, many others, have apparently met with the representatives. Now, we did another another transfer story earlier that was talking about Gyökeres and his situation with Sporting. That was covered from Portuguese press, and then it was Northern press from the iPaper who were discussing the kind of Isak situation. So that's all in the previous video on the Goonerverse 2. Have a look at that. But David Ornstein has come out and said that Arsenal supposedly want to sign 50 million. I went too far. He didn't say want to sign. He said met with the representatives of. And Arsenal, and apparently Arteta and Berta are big admirers of the player. What we know is there's a £50 million release clause. He's 19 years old, and Arsenal, one of the clubs to have met with his representatives. Okay, let's digest it. Why would Arsenal want a right-footed centre-back at the club when you've got William Saliba for depth? Okay, I hear that answer immediately. When you've got Tomiyasu, White and Timber who can all play there. If Kivior's leaving, because one of the things they said is if Kivior goes, and this is a deal they might look at. Look, I'm not a massive expert on Dean Huijsen, but I know he's been getting rave reviews in the Premier League this season. My understanding of him is 6'5", very good on the ball. Obviously, now he's played as a Spain international. Bournemouth were having a very good season. They kind of fell away recently, but he's been a part of Bournemouth's successes. He's a young player. He wouldn't come in and demand to play immediately. But maybe Arsenal also, preparing for a future in which William Saliba might join Real Madrid in the coming years. I don't think it will happen immediately. I don't think it will happen this summer. But maybe that's something just to prepare for in the future. So all that stuff's kind of in mind. Why do Arsenal want a player to play in that position? I think because Arteta will be absolutely dead set on White and Timber as his fullbacks. I don't see a world in which Timber becomes his left back so that White can start right back. I don't see a world in which he's going to kind of particularly happily rest Saliba so that White or Timber could play at centre back for a little bit. I don't see that happening. Some people might say we need left centre back more if Kivior's going because you want a left footer. But I actually think Calafiori and his future might well be more at centre back covering there at times. I think there's a very good chance that Arsenal in future start to invert the right back too. So maybe White or Timber tuck into midfield. That means the other back three slot across, and you end up with Saliba, Hoyson, Hoyson? I think it's Hoyson. Saliba, Hoyson, and Calafiori as your kind of back three and build up, or even swap Saliba and Hoyson. So actually having two right footers there kind of works. So the balance of the team that we've seen over the years. So I'm just thinking very tactically here, but that's kind of something to keep in mind, I suppose. I think a left centre they're covered enough with Calafiori and Gabriel, and I think Calafiori will cover at centre back at times. Lewis-Skelly and maybe Zinchenko could be our left backs next season. I mean, unless major interest comes from Zinchenko, but he's not played. In fact, Tierney's been playing in his place, and Tierney's about to leave on a free transfer. So actually, do you know what? The more I think about it, it's a weird one. It is a really weird one because while I think Calafiori is a better centre back than Kivior, and big up Kivior for what he did against Real Madrid the other night. Kivior, it kind of goes Lewis-Skelly, Calafiori, because Tierney he's on his way out and Zinchenko isn't playing. Then it goes Kivior and Gabriel. Then it goes Saliba and basically whoever, Tomiyasu, but he's not fit. And then it goes White and Timber. Man, this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one. I'm not quite sure why Arsenal would want to do this unless they're planning on keeping a Zinchenko around. Because surely that's not like... Surely that they're not going to go into the season with no cover for Gabriel. Maybe they want both. Maybe they want to do more. So okay, let's forget about all the actual squad building and planning and all that. And actually talk about the £50 million release clause in the player itself. Is this a good investment for Arsenal? Okay, I really rate the player. I think £50 million going on a player this summer has to, like it did with Ben White, which a lot of people felt 50 million was too much at the time. But I think 50 million this summer has to go on a player you absolutely believe is going to play as a regular in this team. Now, I don't think that is a rule for big clubs in general, right? Grealish was a £100 million player. He's largely been a squad player at Man City bar the treble season. So I don't think that's a rule Arsenal have to live by. If you spend 50 million more on a player, they've got to come and improve the first team. But we are in for a big, big summer. Whether we execute or not is another question. But we're in for a big, big summer in terms of the work we have to do. The expectation is a striker, a winger, Zubimendi as a defensive midfielder, and then in my opinion, we still need a 10. Some people think we need 2 strikers. Some people think we're going to need to add something at left back because we might lose Tierney and Zinchenko there. In my opinion, £50 million on Hoyson, who doesn't fix any of those issues, when you've got Tomiyasu returning and White and Timber, and all of them can cover those 2 positions and the depth at centre-back and right centre-back, I don't really see the point in this one. Apart from he's a major talent and Arsenal might be preparing for the future. And that's not a bad thing. Liverpool signed Mamashvili. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm so sorry. They signed him knowing they still have Alisson and they've got Kelleher. So sometimes there's great players on the market. You know, I think if it weren't for that release clause, you know, from what people are saying about these performances and the few I've seen, you know, there's every chance Bournemouth will be wanting 60, 70, 80 million for a player of Hoyson's potential and quality. Of course, I think he was at Juventus before as well. So look, I think there's every chance it's a market opportunity that Arsenal are thinking, he's brilliant, we want to add quality throughout, we want to be able to rotate. Maybe he has something really different. Maybe Arteta will use him differently. Maybe Arteta will turn him into a 6. I mean, Arteta's done this before, right? Hi, White, you know, you're a centre-back, we're going to turn you into a right-back. Hey, Rice, you're predominantly known as a 6, but we're going to make you a box-to-box, though, to be fair, he was doing that at West Ham. You know, Trossard, you're a you know, inside forward / false 9 / 10, we'll put you as a touchline winger. Havertz, you know, I know you played up front, but let's get more out of you. You know, it wouldn't... Odegaard, you're going from 10 to more of an 8, you know, out on the touchline. He has taken players and reinvented their positions. Timber, Lewis-Skelly is doing with it right now. Marino, he's turning into a goal-scoring number 9, right? So Arteta's ability to kind of reinvent what he does with the player is... We've seen that before. I think my question is, £50 million is the release clause. Is it... Let's say Arsenal have a £250 million summer. Is another 50 million on top to make it 300 wisely spent on Hoyson? Howson? It might be Howson. I'm really sorry if I'm absolutely butchering it. I don't know. This is a really strange one. But it comes from David Ornstein, people. And Ornstein has just put Arsenal's name in amongst other clubs as having spoken to representatives. It's nothing major in terms of... Even I think the Gyökeres news came with a little bit more kind of substance to it. Why are all these transfer stories coming out? Why is so much making its way into the public about potential targets and players? He even talked about Benjamin Sesko, and he said, what did he say? He said something, I'll try and make this quick, but basically that like there are some doubts within the club about Sesko, and while a lot of work's been done, you know, he's maybe not quite as much a priority as he was before. Man United, in fact, could really be in the hunt for Sesko, as could Chelsea. So maybe Arsenal share some of the doubts that we have about him as the complete striker ready to contribute now, which is that maybe he's just still a bit too raw. So that was an interesting little update there. But yeah, the Hoyson one's interesting. Anyway, I'll round it off there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you understand spending £50 million on this player? If you ask me, do I want this player added as a young deputy to Saliba for next season's squad? It's a yes, thumbs up. If it's, do I want 50 million to go there, you know, before other areas? If we sign him for 50 million and we haven't signed a 10, I'll be really disappointed. Let's leave it on that. Catch you in a bit.